We are in week 4 of our cold calling mini series. Today we are going to talk about one of the most important parts of cold calling, getting motivated to actually do them. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but none of it means a thing unless you actually get up the motivation to pick up that 500-pound phone in the first place, right? Hey everyone, once again, I'm Ian Campbell. I'm CEO of Mission Suite. Before we dive into today's video, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so that you're notified anytime that we post a new video. So it has been over 10 years since I started Mission Suite, and I've been using Mission Suite to help our clients get the most out of the contacts that they're collecting. And this includes tracking them, keeping in touch with them, making pitches to those contacts, and sometimes even cold calling. For the past few weeks, I've been giving you tips to help up your cold calling game. But today, it's all about what's in here and what's in here. Now, if you haven't properly psyched yourself up for making your cold calls, you may find yourself making lackluster pitches at best, or even worse, you'll probably come up with reasons to procrastinate even making any calls. Raise your hand if this has ever applied to you. And if you've been watching these videos over the past few weeks, you know that procrastination is really only going to add more pressure to each call, and it's going to make it that much harder to get in the right mindset to be successful in your cold calls. It's a self-defeating cycle that no business owner, no salesperson ever wants to find themselves in. Okay, so how do we do it? How do you get yourself motivated to actually follow through with those cold calls and to actually do them well? Of course, there's no one way to make it work. Right? We're all very different people and we have very different businesses. But there are a few things that there are a few tips that I can offer you to help you settle into the mindset to actually make those cold calls. So, first of all, make a ritual. We're all creatures of habit and we all settle into our daily routines, usually by default. And a lot of it has to do with the rituals that we create for ourselves. I'm sure that plenty of you already have a workday startup ritual. Maybe you wake up and make breakfast with your spouse or take your dog for a walk, and then when you come back, you sit down in front of your computer, roll up your sleeves, and get to work. And all of a sudden, as if by magic, your brain just knows that it's time to work. And that's because you've trained your brain to click into that working mindset with that routine that you may not have even made on purpose. You should do the exact same thing when it comes to cold calling. Create a very specific ritual just before you make your cold calls. Listen to the same song to pump you up just before you pick up the phone. Maybe brew yourself a new cup of coffee, rub your hands together and make, cheesy key phrases, put on work headphones, whatever the case might be. Maybe you're even watching clips from The Wolf of Wall Street or Boiler Room, right? Whatever gets you into the mindset, do it, and then make it a habit. It may seem silly at first, it may seem weird, but once you get into that habit, you're going to find that those rituals are going to be invaluable in the process to making calls. Before you know it, the second that you engage in that ritual, you'll find a shift in your brain that lets you know that it's time to make those calls. And all of a sudden, that moment that you've been dreading is something that you've learned to just switch on at the drop of a hat. Tip number 2, reflect on your why. Before you even look at the phone, remember why you got into your business in the first place. Write it down. Pin it up on your wall. Make sure that you always have it in sight at all times. Too often when it comes to this daily grind that we're in, we get too caught up in our menial tasks and we lose our way, right? We lose the passion that goes along with our job. So remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing. How do you help your customers and clients? Chances are you're probably not just doing this for the money, but it's because you believe that you're actually adding real value to people's lives. So recapture that reason, write it down, and don't forget it. Media and our own self-doubt has led us to painting salespeople as kind of this sleazy profession where we're tricking other people into giving us their money, right? That's not the way that salespeople are. Some of them, sure, but that's not the way that you have to be. You add value to the lives of the people around you, and you have to believe this when you're going into your calls. So reflect on your why. Why do you personally do what you do? Why does your company do what it does? Think back on those moments that a client was really, really impressed with the work that you've done. And if your business is brand new, just imagine that ideal scenario where your client or customer, they're really stoked on doing business with you. Now, this stuff like this can really just build up a passion from the inside, and it's because that passion really resonates with you personally, right? It's going to make making cold calls a lot easier. And it's going to make you much more convincing so that when your potential client or customer is on the call, they're actually going to buy into you as well. So we do have one more tip for you, but first I want to hear a little bit about you. What valuable benefits does your service or your product bring to your client, right? Why does it get you excited? I want to know your why. Let us know in the comments down below and try to keep that in mind before jumping into your next cold call session. And now for our final tip for summoning that cold call motivation. This one is one of my favorites personally. It's embrace the rejection. I know, it really sucks. None of us like rejection. And that's one of the reasons that a lot of us hate cold calling to begin with. It just feels weird. In fact, you probably noticed that a lot of what we've said in the past weeks is about narrowing your pool of prospects so that you're as successful as possible. But at the end of the day, rejection is going to happen. It's inevitable when it comes to calling. Now, legendary horror author Stephen King famously celebrated his rejections back before he was successful. By his own claim, by the time he was 14 years old, a nail that he had hammered into the wall could actually no longer support the weight of his rejection slips. So he replaced the nail with a spike, and he kept on working. Now, don't pin your cold calling rejections up to the wall, but embrace the rejections as a part of the process. In fact, it's the only guarantee that this process provides. So why not find a way to celebrate it? Maybe set a goal for the number of rejections that you get in a session, right? Do that, and you may find yourself looking forward to hitting your new target and picking up your phone with a renewed sense of purpose. Now, I want to be clear, I'm not recommending that you aim for failure, right? Don't make these calls and be a jerk just to get rejected. But, you know, so often our society will frown on failure, the pains of a work in progress, and that's exactly what a cold call is. So as we grow, failure and rejection is going to be inevitable. And in order to be successful, we need to grow that thick skin, right? But success is only possible after we've failed. Once we've overcome that, it's easier to find motivation to do the thing that'll likely result in some sort of rejection or some sort of failure and just get through it. All right. Now, after all that talk of failure, of course, at the end of the day, we want you to be as successful as possible, and we want as many of your calls as possible to be successful. And in order to do that, you need to make sure that you're prepared. And what better way to prepare than to craft your own cold call script? Check out the link in the description below, and you're going to find you'll find a link to a landing page that will allow you to build out your own personalized cold calling script that's personalized for you and to your business. So check it out. So that's it. Listen, I hope you got something out of this video, and if you did, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up, give it a share, let some other people see it so that the algorithm that we're all working from knows that people like our stuff. Also, while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so that you're notified anytime that we post new videos. And at the same time, check out these other videos as well. And we'll see you next time around. Cheers.